Hey there, overcomers. Welcome to the Overcomable podcast, where we celebrate unleashing our inner rebel and conquering the darkness every week by sharing uplifting real talk and a whole lot of inspiration. Thanks for being here on this journey with us as we navigate the challenges life throws our way, sharing inspiring stories of resilience, growth, and triumph. Together, we'll uncover the strategies, insights, and motivation needed to overcome obstacles and emerge stronger than ever. Get ready to be uplifted, motivated, and equipped to conquer whatever darkness comes your way. So let's get ready to conquer those obstacles and make every episode a step toward a brighter and stronger you. Ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Overcomable podcast. This is Trish, and our guest today is family-driven coach Ambereen Hameed. Ambereen is a woman on a mission to transform the world by unifying families, the center of our lives, yet it is one of the first relationships we neglect. This in turn can make us feel guilty and distant from those whose lives we impact regularly. Through her coaching, Ambereen's mission is to create an irreplaceable and authentic bond centered around values so families can connect through a whole new frequency. Welcome, Ambereen, and thank you so much for being here. Please tell us more about the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Patricia, to actually be here. I think it's wonderful when you meet people who are like-minded and want to serve, to be here. I think it's wonderful when you meet people who are like-minded and want to serve the bigger, the broader world.
Yes.
You mentioned I'm a family-driven coach, and that is correct. I actually help families create an irreplaceable and an authentic bond that is kind of cultivated through the session of gratitude, accepted, and then also values that they share together as a unit. And I also help and work with, adolescents as well. So that those are the two areas of a focus.
Okay, that sounds great. And can you share a little bit about your journey? To this career, to this type of work. Was there any challenges that you faced that helped you get to where you are today?
Indeed. I would say growing up, I was a very independent and authentic person. I knew who I was. But as life would have it, I got married and I started to lose who I was and the essence of myself. And I found myself kind of hitting rock bottom when my kids would ask me the simplest of questions like, "Hey, Ma, what's your favorite color?" Or "What food do you like to eat? Where do you like to..." So I couldn't really be relatable to my kids because as little ones, all they do is dream, right? They're ambitious, they're courageous, they're curious, and they just want to keep dreaming. And for them, I was like, well, Mom doesn't really know who she is. And through this relationship, what I had understood is like I had lost myself because I didn't learn to prioritize myself. And the biggest lesson is that, we're all created to perfection. And so our authenticity and who we are is what we're supposed to be in this world. And as I began to discover more of me, I realized that for me, my heart, and it drives me in a way where I recognize and realize that without family, we're really nothing.
I agree.
And our families have such an influential role in our lives, whether they recognize it or embrace it or not. It exists. So that's where it's led up to here.
And they are such an important support system to have. especially when you are going through these difficult times. So you mentioned that you felt like you had lost yourself. Was there anybody in your family that you could go to? Did you have a support system?
So honestly speaking, that I have a support system that I could have leveraged, yes, but I chose not to.
Mm,
Why? Because I was escaping the reality of my own life because it was so difficult. It was so difficult. Anyone that met me at that time, would they ever say, "Oh my God, Ambereen is like bummed and down and energy is low"? No, nobody could, nobody could sense it. So I had worked to build this tenacity muscle, recognizing and realizing that even in this situation, how do I bring out the best in myself? Even though I don't know who I am, I can still do the tasks to excellence. And when I realized that I just became a human doer, not a human
mhm.
being, so how could I ask for support because I wasn't really being? So
Okay. That you mentioned that you didn't know who you were, right? You lost sight of who Breen was, but at the same time, you were doing things in an excellent type of way, doing things the way they were supposed to be done. What was the difference there?
the difference comes back right to that topic, family. We were raised in a household, we're immigrants. And so we
Mhm.
moved here from Pakistan. And what you have to realize is when you are an immigrant, your parents come with dreams.
Mhm.
Some of them are their
Exactly.
own, they're holding. And my mom, from whenever I've known her, she has been extremely, extremely driven with excellence. She is a
Wow.
role model. She's an influencer. She's a leader. She's a server. She's a giver. And for her, raising us to realize that excellence is the only way to be, kind of set the bar. So I was kind
Mm.
of just doing what I had been taught to do.
And at what point did you realize that you lost sight of who you were in the process of doing all these things? Did you feel like you were doing them for someone else and not yourself? Like what was the root cause of that type of feeling that you lost sight of who you were? Because I believe that it happens a lot more than we realize.
Yeah. And it's kind of that whole, and sadly, this is more for women than it is for men in the world that we grow up in. And hopefully that trend will be changing is as women, we are just our roles, right? You are the daughter, you are the wife, you are the mother, you are the daughter-in-law, and the list goes on and on and on. But you are never you. You're
No
not
one's
even
even
on the list.
asks.
Yeah.
No
You're
one
not even on
asks.
your own priority list. Like on the
No.
top five. Are you top five for yourself on a day-to-day basis? We're not. So when you don't prioritize yourself, I believe, is when you start to lose yourself.
Mhm.
And the second thing that I think that really did add to the turmoil was me losing my sense of spiritual connection.
Wow.
And I think that kind of just drifted me so far away from the core, my own soul and who I was. So together kind of made a pretty big pair to kind of jolt me into the right direction.
I that is for sure. I can completely relate. And what do you think was the turning point that helped you look at the situation and the disconnection and be like, you know what, this needs to change. I need to do something. Was there a turning point like that
There
pushed
was,
you?
it was. And I think the turning point was when I realized that I'm trying to please a man, right?
Wow.
And when you talk to any kid, my kid said these exact same words to his father. His dad said, "I don't know how to be happy." And he said, "Dad, you just be."
You see
And
how kids are so much more in tune to who we are, our essence?
Yeah, and that's why my favorite people on the planet are kids. Literally, they are,
Aw.
because they ground you, they simplify you, and they just recognize and realize just to have fun in the journey. And so when I was trying to chase this concept, and because I kept changing who I was consistently and constantly, and not really knowing who I was anymore, trying to please somebody else, I knew that this could not be the end result. And then I really got into personal development, which is something I did all the time. I would say, but not my soul. And kind of reversing a lot of the things that had been put in my mind to tell me who I was. And I started to actually define who I was. And the way that I shared with a lot of people is when you're broken and shattered into pieces and you don't even know how you got that tiny one, it's the perfect place to put yourself together by design.
Interesting.
Right.
And how did you accomplish that?
Yeah. So I was like, well, am I ugly? Like, am I ugly? Like, am I the ugliest person in the world? Is that what I want to believe about
No,
myself? Is that what I want to believe about
no
myself? That's what I'm going to
way.
teach my daughter to do, right? That's what I'm going to teach my kids to be. I'm like, not ugly is not serving. Am I tenacious? Oh yeah, bring that. Am I courageous? Yes. Am I strong-minded? Yes. Am I a phenomenal cook? Oh yeah, bring that one in, right? So you really start to kind of put bits and pieces back together of yourself that you make you more wholesome at that time. And then I think that realigns you with who you're meant to be.
Exactly. Because deep down, we do have a sense of who we really are. We just have to
Yeah.
get to that place and remember.
One question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Why are you inclined to be a podcaster and doing this work of service?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. And you're right, podcasting is a work of service. And servant leadership is something that's part of my core being. And like you said, it's part of my core being. And like you said, we can go through life playing these roles, especially as women, and lose sense of who we are at our core. Coincidentally, I grew up in an immigrant family. And for me, being first generation American, it was like growing up in this tug of war game. You're trying to go through life already being different from everyone. And then you have your parents pulling you in another direction because they don't want you to lose your culture. And now, as an adult, I understand. As a teenager, was that everyone in my family was trying to make my life miserable, right? So I became a rebel and I became rebellious against my cultural roles. And that was, I think, the issue with a lot of my family, just more than accepting. And then as I got older, I began more spiritual work, like you said. I got, deep into who I was and noticed that a lot of people didn't have didn't have that. They would go through problems and didn't know how to overcome them. Specifically, and I don't want to talk too much. Specifically, when I was teaching a few years ago, I had a teaching assistant who committed suicide, and she was about 20 years old. And all I could think of was, how could this happen? To be so young and to think this was the answer. And I'm like, what's missing? What is missing out there? Why do young people not have coping skills or strategies or what, anything that they can use, or a support system, a trusted person? So I wanted to this has been on my heart for, a long time. And I wanted to bring something like that into the world to just touch people and be like, hey, you know what? You don't have to give up. It's okay. Everybody's got things, and not just you. So that's why I don't know. that was a big reason why I wanted to do this work, was just to help people get through these things without thinking it's the end of the world. Change is
Yeah.
good. And sometimes all they need is change. All they need is like a one little tweak or one step in a different direction to change the course of your life.
Yeah. I think that mindset is life is happening for us.
Exactly.
It's taking us to destinations and places. And in both of those stories that you mentioned, one being, the TA kind of committing suicide and growing up in an immigrant family, it's exactly what I do with my clients. The one of the biggest things that we work on is this concept of acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We must accept ourselves and accept our family exactly where they are right now. 3 months later, is my teenager going bizarre that we expect that life just keeps going and flowing, yet we're supposed to be the exact same people we were 4 years ago, and realizing that acceptance is not a one-time journey, it's consistent and constant. And the reason you're accepting your family as they are is because you love them, because you respect,
right.
because you love them, because you respect
right.
them.
Yes.
Because believe it or not, Patricia, we're meant to be exactly where we are, even though we may not like our family growing up and have problems with them. And even afterwards, right? Your family has been chosen for you, not by me, but by design. Okay. So
right.
accept it, embrace it, go choose your friends. But your brother is exactly what you need right now, because 20 years later, all the challenges that you went through are preparing you right now for this board meeting where people. And,
yes.
I think gratitude is another part of this journey as well, trying to make families realize that through gratitude, you add joy to life. And joy, I believe, is something that's missing. This is research that's proven. The number one indicator of joy is gratitude. Joy is missing from most people's lives. How many people do you see walking around just smiling? You're probably like, okay, weirdo, when you see somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then making sure that every family for themselves defines what I call core values. These are the core values. These are the pillars that hold your family together, the thing that unites this bond. And those are pillars that as a family you design and you designate. And later in your life, 20 years later, when you get a call and mom says, hey, come home from Thanksgiving dinner, because you ask yourself, hey, does it matter? Of course it matters. This time I'm going to take my family with me because I really do want all of us to unite. So
that is an amazing thing to say, and to have core values for families. Realistically, how many families do you think embrace this type of core value system?
I think many families who are high performing do have this built in. But when I say many, I'm not talking about billions, right? I think most families don't. We say we want to have a bond, but we spend 4 hours a day on tech. We say we want to create memories, but we don't eat dinner together. We say we want to have fun, but we don't go out in the snow and play, right? And I think this bond that you build, this irreplaceable and authentic family needs. And that could be, you know what? We love crafts. So we'll do crafts together. Once a week, we take out 2 hours, and every time somebody else plans a different craft, and we all take this journey together. But 2 hours later, now you talk about this with your friends, your other people, or in conversations months later when you have another gathering, like, oh my God, remember that painting that we all made together? You want to show this, blah, blah, and everybody pulls out their painting, or that painting is on a wall and it's reflecting all of you. You're right there.
Is this the type of work?
Right there.
Is this the type of work that you do? Is this how you, in your family-driven coach work, is this how you try and get families to get bonded together?
My intention is to serve, right? That's what. and just so driven with light and courage that it tells you that nothing is impossible. Regardless of where your family is now, you can march towards, 3 months later to be a family you never thought was possible. And that's the program that I lead my clients through. Is it's a 3-month coaching journey. And then of course it's a 3-month coaching journey. And then of course you can keep building out, more and more time on the calendar. And it's a whole 1-year program, at least, that will take your family from this broken unconnectedness to a place where you're unified. You're together. You're together. You know what each other's likes and dislikes are. You know how to communicate better. You know how to engage with one another. And I think that's when I feel like I've done something in this world.
That is amazing. And have you ever come across for them? Oh, it's too late. I don't know. It's never going to work. Any kind of negative thinking and how they can overcome that. So if we have any listeners now who are part of a family that probably needs to have these core values in place for more togetherness, and they're thinking it's impossible, probably needs to have these core values in place for more togetherness, and they're thinking it's impossible. Is there any kind of advice you might have to share for those listeners?
Definitely. So the first thing that I would say is if you're going through any challenges and difficulty as a family, and it's CoachAmbereen, my first name, across every social media platform that you could find. I will set up some time with you to meet in a free booking, right? It's just like a discovery call, kind of understanding where your family's at, and even why do you think it's late? Would you? Because remember, your legacy is continuing. You get to decide and choose where you want it to go. When your kids get married, or when they have a girlfriend that is someone they want to live with for the rest of their life, and maybe they add kids to the mix or they add dogs to the mix, aren't you in a way impacting all of that because you are still their family? So you can never be too late. Change is something that you should always embrace, regardless of how old you are or how far down you think you've gone, in this journey.
That's amazing. And have you worked with not families as a whole, but just separate units of a family?
Yeah, so I get to work also. My group coaching is with kids, right? Like I talked about.
Great.
And so I've got several different tiers of that, and it's broken down by age groups. And when you work with these kids, because it's just a virtual session, and you'll have up to 10 people in one group coaching call, and there we really talk about what are you facing as challenges. The sophomores, the freshmen, their challenges are very different than the juniors and the seniors. Very different, right? Like the sophomores are just kind of school, where the seniors like, man, I just want to be done. I want to kind of move on with my life. So the challenges are very different, but the whole point and centeredness around that is making this child, this person, this adolescent, this young adult realize that you are facing the same challenge that and as humans, we lose ourselves when we feel lonely. I talked about that a little bit. As I had a support system, I didn't use them because I was escaping my life. But in these dialogues, what you hear is people have very similar challenges. They don't know how to cope with it. Or I can say that people have very similar challenges. They don't know how to cope with it. Or I can say that so-and-so did it and they actually overcame it. And now you have more ammunition to say, oh, if they could do it, I can do it.
Exactly. Thank you so much. That was a great way to end this. Some of us think that we're going through something and it's just us and that no one's going to understand, but that's not the case, as you've shown us. Thank you so much, Ambereen. Unfortunately, we need to end the conversation. I would love to continue this again in the future. And can you repeat one more time for our audience where they can reach you?
Yeah, so across any social media platform, my name is CoachAmbereen, spelled AMBEREEN. And, have no fear. Butcher my name. It's all good. Butcher my name. It's all good. I am somebody who's going to let you be you and hopefully course correct as we need to. So thank you so much for the opportunity, Patricia, to be here and to share my mission with the world.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for your work and your service. And thank you for being here. And I hope we could meet again.
Indeed.
Thank you for tuning in to the Overcomable podcast today and for joining us on this empowering journey. Remember, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. Obstacles are just opportunities in disguise. Keep pushing forward, stay resilient, and embrace the triumphs that await you. Until next time, this is Trish signing off, reminding you that you have the strength to overcome any challenge life throws your way. And remember, the universe is out there cheering us on. See you in the next episode. If you would like to learn more about our mission, please visit our website at www.overcomable.com, where you can also find some inspirational and helpful resources to help and empower you to live your best life.